Gologin. If you've watched my previous reviews, AdsPower, Morelogin, Dolphin, Anty, Octo browser, you've heard me reference Gologin constantly. It's been the benchmark that I keep coming back to throughout this series. So now it's time to put Gologin under the same microscope. Same testing approach, same standards, no soft treatment. Now in this video we're going to find out what Gologin is and who it's actually for, the real pros and cons against alternatives, interface and experience, pricing, API, automation, proxies, live fingerprint tests, trust and reputation, and my final verdict. So let's get into it. Now, in 2026, Gologin has grown well beyond a standard anti-detect browser app. If you look closely at what the product actually offers, it's closer to a full technology stack. A standalone anti-detect browser, a cloud browser service for scaling, a web app, an Android app, a web unlocker, a strong API with MCP support, direct AI agent integration, and a cloud Android service that's still early but appears to be in heavy development. That's a lot for a tool that starts at $9 a month, and Gologin doesn't seem to advertise all of it aggressively, so if you're paying attention, you might be early to the full picture. Now technically, Gologin runs on Orbiter browser, their own custom Chromium fork, covering over 50 fingerprint protection parameters. Cross-platform support is broad. Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, and a web-based cloud version that lets you launch profiles from a browser tab on any device without installing anything. That web version is genuinely rare in this space. Now, one minor limitation, Gologin is Chrome only, no Firefox support. That's a fair criticism, though in practice it's not a significant gap for most use cases. Now the interface is one of Gologin's strongest areas and has been for several years running. Everything is clean, refined and logically organized. G2 gave Gologin their easiest to use award for 2024 and 2025, and that tracks with how the product actually feels day to day. The quick profile button also generates a solid fingerprint with one click. Advanced users can manually control 50 plus parameters, folders, tags, search, and bulk actions are all present and well implemented. Basic features that notably some premium competitors like Octo browser still haven't fully delivered. The proxy management is built natively into the interface and is significantly easier to operate than anything else in this category. More on that in the proxy section in just a second. Now, a few downsides are worth noting. Some settings and controls are tucked under menus that aren't immediately obvious. Some users report performance slowdowns when running large numbers of simultaneous profiles on older hardware, and some of the advanced fingerprint settings don't have tooltip explanations, though Gologin's position is that those parameters are for experienced users who already know what they're adjusting. Overall, the cleanest, most beginner-friendly UI in the market, not without rough edges, but meaningfully ahead of the alternatives for anyone who wants to get work done without a steep learning curve. Now, this is a section that I've been building towards across this entire review series. Fresh default profile, built-in residential proxy, testing the browser itself. Now, starting with Pixelscan, it passed cleanly. Now, IPHey.com. And this is where it gets interesting. Gologin passes IPHey.com. There's no flags, no detection. Displays as a normal Chrome browser. Now to put that into context, across this whole review series, I tested AdsPower, Morelogin, Dolphin, Anty, and Octo browser on the same checker. Every single one was detected. Gologin is the only tool that passes both Pixelscan and Iphey cleanly, out of the box, on default settings without any manual tweaking. Now, IPHey.com isn't the final word on real-world platform performance, but if platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Amazon are building anti-bot systems, it's reasonable to assume they're at least as sophisticated as a publicly available fingerprint checker. Falling apart at this level is a meaningful signal. This is the strongest fingerprint result in the series by a clear margin. Now, it doesn't mean every profile will be undetectable in every scenario forever. That's not mathematically possible, but on a like-for-like comparison test, Gologin is leading the field. Now, Gologin is a US-based company, registered as Gologin LLC with a business address in Venice, Florida. There's also a European company presence for GDPR compliance, a plus for transparency and data governance. Security track record? No publicly reported data breaches in 7 years of operation. The team claims 99.99% yearly uptime across 2022 to 2025, with 0 user data leaks. In a category where AdsPower had a $4.7 million breach in 2025 and Dolphin had a significant compromise in 2022, that's a genuine differentiator. Review presence is strong and notably Western focused. G2, Trustpilot and Capterra all show well-maintained profiles with real feedback, including visible negative reviews, which is actually a sign of a managed reputation rather than a fabricated one. The negative feedback clusters around 3 themes: occasional built-in proxy downtime, slower performance with many simultaneous profiles, and some users attributing account bans to the browser. The audience skews mainstream US marketing agencies, e-commerce operators, social media managers, LinkedIn lead generation. Considerably less concentrated in grey hat or gambling verticals than Octo or Dolphin Anty. That matters if you're evaluating fit for a legitimate business operation. Now, one genuine weakness first. Gologin doesn't have a no-code visual automation builder, no RPA block like AdsPower, no drag and drop scenario builder like Dolphin. If that kind of workflow automation is central to your operation, Gologin isn't going to be the right fit. What it does have is strong API access, included on every paid plan from professional upwards. Rate limits start at 300 requests per minute on the entry plan, scaling to 1,200 RPM on enterprise and higher on custom. For context, Octo browser's base plan at €79 a month gives you 50 RPM. Gologin's $9 plan gives you 300. The value difference on API is not subtle. The more interesting development in 2026 is AI agent integration. Gologin has a dedicated AI agent setup that lets tools like Claude or Codex use Gologin profiles to browse through the API, including on social media platforms without triggering blocks. There's dedicated documentation covering the whole setup, and both local and cloud infrastructure can be used for scaling. None of the other browsers in this review series have comparable infrastructure for AI-driven workflows. So if you're working with Firecrawl, browser use, or browser base, this is worth investigating separately. Alright, Proxies is where Gologin has the clearest lead over the entire market. Gologin was the first anti-detect browser to build seamless proxy access directly into the app. Not referral links, not a clunky proxy shop with API keys and passwords, but actual working proxies available with one click. Multi-types are offered: data center, residential, mobile, and static residential, all inside the app with clear pricing and straightforward operation. All paid plans include at least 2 GB of residential proxy traffic. Additional traffic is available at $3 per gigabyte. Now, there are no caps or restrictions on connecting your own external proxies either. The closest rival is Multilogin, which bundles residential proxies and has slightly more traffic on some plans, but is less transparent about how to actually use them. Everyone else in this review series is either sending you to a third-party provider or offering a proxy shop that their own documentation quietly recommends avoiding. Now, Gologin recently updated their pricing, and here's how it currently breaks down. There's a 7-day free trial from sign up and a permanent free plan with free profiles, some data center proxies and basic features. No API access on the free tier. Professional starts at $9 a month for 10 profiles, scaling to $79 for 100. The 2 GB of residential proxies are included at every level. No team seats on professional though, solo use only, which is a real limitation for small agencies. Business is $119 a month for 300 to 500 profiles with 1 team slot included. Enterprise is $299 for 1,000 profiles and 800 RPM. Custom starts at $449 for 2,000 plus profiles with higher API limits and flexible team seats. Annual billing takes 50% off across all paid plans. More aggressive than AdsPower's 40% or Octo's 30%. The $9 entry point matches Morelogin and is close to Dolphin's $10, but Gologin includes residential proxy bandwidth at that price, which neither of those do. Compared to Octo Browser's €79 entry for API access, the value difference is really significant. So, what is the verdict? Well, Gologin is the strongest all-round anti-detect browser in the review series. What's genuinely good? The only tool to pass both fingerprint tests cleanly across the entire series. Best in-class proxy integration, most refined UI, strong API value, native AI agent automation that's ahead of the market, 7 years without a data breach, broad cross-platform support including web and Android. But what's not so good? Well, there's no team seats on the entry plan, which creates a real barrier for small agencies. There's no drag and drop automation builder for users who need no-code RPA. Browser core updates are less frequent than Octo browser. A fair criticism, even if the test results are better. There's no Firefox support, and the cloud Android feature is still early. Now, my honest verdict for the vast majority of users in 2026, Gologin offers better value than any alternative in this category. The fingerprint results, the proxy experience, the API, and the trust track record all points in the same direction. It has gaps, but they're gaps that you can work around. The gaps in the competition are harder to ignore. Now go ahead and check the playlist for the full comparison series. Like if this was useful, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.